Racing Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the podcast, or welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Nick, and I hope you're doing well. This week coming is the Canadian Grand Prix and also the weekend of the 24 hours of Le Mans, and I can't wait. I've been buzzing for it for a while, especially Le Mans. I'm not a massive fan of the Canadian Grand Prix. In recent years, it's been quite a boring track, and I haven't been hyped around the Canadian Grand Prix as much as I should be, and potentially would have been back in 2009-10. But yeah, we got that one this weekend, and I don't know how it's going to play out. I don't think any of us really know how it's going to play out, but it's going to be potentially interesting with Max Verstappen because he's got his 11 points. If he gets 12 points, he's got a one race ban. And then after that, I think a lot of his points is reducted because of the layover from last year, if I remember off the top of my head. But I don't know where he's going to come. I don't know if he's going to get a penalty point. I'd love to see if he does get one. The current world champion gets a fucking race ban. That'd be pretty bad for the sport, but brilliant. I love that if Max does do that. And I know a lot of people giving Max a lot of shit for what happened in the last race, and I get it, and I get both of the sides of it. Like I said in my previous podcast discussing it, especially like how he dive bombed onto George. He was just kind of doing it out of anger towards the whole scenario with what happened prior. So I get what happened, but at the same time, I'm not against what happened. And I know people might be listening to this like, no, that was bad, dangerous driving, he used his car as a weapon, all of that. Listen, we've had that before, and maybe how Max came across it was maybe a bit too aggressive, and it did look like he wanted to stab George Russell in the face, but he didn't do that. He drove into him. And I just think, I think maybe he's just done that one time. He's overreacted. He's had a stressful period in those last few weeks of that triple header. I think his daughter was born maybe at the beginning of a triple header, if I remember off the top of my head. So, he's away from home. He's got a lot of stress. He's quite tired. That's how I assume it. I don't know if that's true because he's a multi-millionaire. He's probably got nannies and other things and other people in place to help him look after his children. Again, only speculation, but that's how I would probably see it. But I don't know how he's going to come out of his Canadian Grand Prix. I think it's probably going to be an Esteban Ocon, fuck off, Oscar Piastri win. I think he's going to win it this weekend. And I think it's just going to be a pretty boring race. It normally is in Canada. It was last year and it was a year before. But I'm still going to watch it, and I'm going to watch the 24 Hours of Le Mans, and it's Father's Day this weekend in the UK. I don't know if it's the same date as everybody else around this planet, but in the UK, this Sunday coming, which would be, I don't know what day that is, but that is the Father's Day for England and the UK, I think. I think that's the same for Wales and Ireland and Scotland. But yeah, so happy Father's Day to people who are listening to this on this Sunday, as in Father's Day. But yeah, I just thought I'm going to have a little bit of a ramble podcast. I've got nothing structured here, so I'm doing this all top of my head. And I was listening to a race podcast the other day, and they were talking about the best drivers and who are like their number 1 to 20. And they had a Canadian guy on there. So if you're a Canadian listening to this podcast, hello, my fellow brother or sister from across the pond. I feel for you guys because you've had Jacques Villeneuve in 1997, who won the World Championship, who was great for Canada, really good, even though I think he's a bit of a knobhead and how he sometimes talks. But congrats, you had a world champion. And I feel bad for Canada at the moment with the drivers they've had in recent years. You've had Nicholas Latifi, you've had Lance Stroll, and then, of course, Jacques Villeneuve in the past. But you just haven't had your, a fair enough driver for your country. Let's face it. And if I'm going to be completely honest with you, like I always am, I do think Lance Stroll is one of the worst drivers on the grid. And I know people were like, I was listening to the race and I was getting annoyed with their podcast and how they were talking about Lance Stroll. I guess I get it. They're being professional and they are looking at the statistics. And they were kind of like not saying too much to the Canadian counterpart on the podcast, who obviously was a Lance Stroll fan to a degree. And he was, giving him support, as you would do. Like if your drivers from your country, I guess, and you support them. I don't. I don't really give Lando a lot of credit, or Lewis, never have. George Russell I do, because I think he's actually a really good driver. And, you know, sometimes you do defend your drivers, but I would defend George Russell anyway if he was fucking from Italy or whatever. Again, I would, because I'm a Ferrari fan. But, okay, wherever he's from, he could be from Bangladesh. I was still going to support George Russell, but because of his driving. But you've got Lance Stroll, who in the past, when he was in F3 and he skipped F2, his dad bought the F3 team and he got all of the top stuff, all of the top people, did all sorts of stuff. And Lance Stroll dominated. So Lawrence bought Lance all of his stuff for the F3 championship and he won. And then I think he got a podium first year or whatever it was for Williams. And that was it. That's literally been Lance Stroll's career. Ever since then, he's been dog shit. He really has. And it's not just a couple of years ago. He's been in F1, I believe, since for like 7-8 years, I think, off the top of my head. So he's had a long time. And in that time, he hasn't done much. You've got Alonso at the moment, who's absolutely dicking him around, even though this Canadian on the podcast was saying, well, look, Lance is doing quite well compared to Alonso. He's actually got points. Alonso's only got 2 points. But I don't think the guy's really taken into account what's happened to Alonso's season this year and how shit he has been treated with luck and with the team and strategy. He hasn't had a great year, and he's had a teammate who's been biased with the strategy, in my opinion. And maybe you share that opinion. And he hasn't really done as well as he should have with how much biasism with the luck and other things, which was out of his control, I guess. But he still didn't do that amazing. And he hasn't out-qualified Alonso, I don't think, once. And I just think, what? Not once. And I don't know if it was the same as Sebastian Vettel when they were teammates. When we were watching it, me and my friends have been watching F1 for many years, but when this Aston Martin merger happened, and when he was at, was it Racing Point and all of that, it was just annoying. And it was also exciting with Lance Stroll, because you never know what you're going to get. It's like, in England, there's a thing called a celebration tin. And in the celebration tins, you have different bits of chocolate. And maybe one of them might be a Mars bar, or you might get a Twix. Or, if you're really unlucky, you get a Bounty. So say there's 20 biscuits, chocolates in this tin. I just think Lance Stroll's a Bounty. And it is his fault. It's not when people go, oh, it's not his fault, you know. There's compilation videos on YouTube of him just driving into drivers cluelessly and just doing stupid things. He's never really supported himself at all, and he's a bit of a fraud in my opinion. Even though he should show in F3 that he was very good, but you got to look at how he got to that F3 position and how he won that season and all the money spent. And now you look at all the money spent in F1. His dad owns Aston Martin and is putting billions and upon billions of pounds to making his son a world champion. And his son can't even tell the difference between his ass and his elbow. And I don't know how he's going to do it. I don't think he ever will do it. I just think after next year, let Fernando Alonso have his moment next year. Give him a fucking good car, Aston Martin, and I'm sure Alonso will perform and he will fucking dominate-ish, depending if Ferrari or Red Bull or Mercedes have got semi-decent cars with new regulation changes. But Stroll won't be in the picture. I can guarantee that, unless that Aston Martin is that Red Bull of 2023, where it wins all the time, and you go, oh my God, whoa, what a car, and Stroll comes second place, but Alonso's beating him by 280 points. Then you go, oh, why is it so many points? Like, did he not win one race? And you're like, no, he hasn't won a race. You know, that type of thing. But after next year, what I want to see in Aston Martin is a complete restructure of the drivers. And I like Alonso. I'm not slagging Alonso off. I think he's fantastic. I don't want him to leave F1, but all good things have got to come to an end. I'm not saying he should come to an end in 2026. I just feel like if that... Now, I'm in two minds about this, guys, because I want to see Alonso staying in Aston Martin and I want to see him win races. I want to see this guy do really well in F1. But the other part of me, I've got my own little hopes and dreams. As much as I love Alonso, I also have a hard time with my favourite driver, Leclerc. And I am a Ferrari fan, always will be. But what's going on with Ferrari at the moment is it's been shambolic. It's been really annoying, and I haven't really seen much progress at all from the team, and it's been disappointing. This is what it's like being a Ferrari fan. You always have them in your heart, but you look at other teams and you go, fucking hell, like, okay, it's not Ferrari's moment. This is actually giving me a slight form of depression. I'm not joking about depression here, because if you do have it, I hope you seek help. But, Ferrari do give you, like, bad times. They don't give you good times. They sometimes do, and it's a fake good time, like Monaco last year. You think, oh my God, they're going to do really well. And then literally the wheels fell off the next race. I think it was Montreal in Canada, and it was an absolute shit show. It was terrible. I think they had like an engine failure and some other bits and bobs. But I wouldn't mind seeing, okay, I'm going to be honest with you guys, because I always am, but I wouldn't mind seeing Max Verstappen and Leclerc in that Aston Martin in 2027. Why not? They've got the money in that team. They have the brain power with Adrian Newey and the other guys. I've got the other guy, he left Red Bull. And he's there now, and he's doing a really good job. And there's a technical guy as well. He's been doing a really good job over there as well, and he's looking decent. And they've got a lot of money being spent over there. Why not give the two best drivers on the grid, in my opinion, maybe even facts, with Leclerc and Verstappen, a good car? They will win you championships, and they will win you constructors championships. They just will. One or two of them will. One or either of them will do it. And it will keep it interesting because they both love racing against each other, and they're both good drivers. So I would put those two as my number 1 and 2. I'm not telling you who's number 1 and who's number 2. Probably, okay, it's Max. Max is number 1 at the moment, but Leclerc's close number 2. And people are like, oh, what? No, he's not. But I think he is. I do. And in my third place, I'm going to try and go in order here. This is all off my top of my head, so I might even end up missing out a driver out and go, oh, yeah, no, shit, put him in there. Which is bad. I should write this down, but, freeballing it. So I've got Max number 1, closely followed by number 2 with Leclerc. Number 3, out of all 20, oh, fuck. I would go Piastri, but it's very close between Piastri and George Russell at the moment, and how the season's going. And potentially the last few seasons, I'd say this regulations, I would say it's close between Piastri and... Oh, fuck, what did I say? Piastri and George Russell. I think they're quite close, but I give Piastri the edge. So I put Piastri 3rd, George in 4th. Then in 5th, 6th, I would go... a lot of these are going to be quite controversial, because you're going to be like thinking, no, Lewis should be lower, like as in close to number 1 and 2. But you got to look at regulations. You can't look at history, boys and girls. His career is incredible, but he's been shocking for the last 3 years. He's been shit. He's been shit. And if you've got it in your brain that he's been really good, look at the stats. George Russell's done a better job. Leclerc's doing a better job. It's just not weighing up great. So I do apologise if he's not in these top next few spaces. So in 5th place, you're probably going to argue a little bit. Actually, may not, actually. I'm going to go with Carlos Sainz. I think we saw some stuff with his regulations when he was in Ferrari, how good he was. And he was close to Leclerc until Leclerc really turned on me afterburners and was just like, fuck off. You were not the number 1 Ferrari driver. And Sainz has done really well. I know he hasn't done an amazing job at Williams this season, but you've got to take into account he is now technically kind of up to scratch with that car, and he's never driven a Mercedes power unit before. And he's done it. And he's done it way quicker than Lewis has. And Lewis has been driving F1 cars for many more years than Sainz has. And he's won world championships and Sainz hasn't. And Sainz has seemed to have adapted quite quickly. So I put Sainz in 5th, and then in 6th place, whoa, people are going to be like, where's Lando? But I'm like, I don't know if I'd put Lando there. I put Alonso. Alonso there. I put him in 6th. So Alonso's my 6th place. Again, his car's not been great, but when he's had that car, underneath him, which we saw at the beginning of a regulation change, he was getting P3s. He was getting P2s. He was fucking rapid. And then Aston Martin absolutely shafted both the drivers. And I don't think he shafted both the drivers, but he shafted Alonso building a car towards Lance Stroll because Stroll was getting embarrassed by Alonso, if you remember rightly, with that season and how much he was shafting his window-licking fucking teammate. I just don't understand what Aston Martin did that year. They absolutely fumbled the bag because they're fucking idiots when it came to that year. Sorry for getting a little bit passionate here, guys, but I remember watching it with my friends. I'm like, they've literally brought up upgrades for the car to make Stroll quicker, and it hasn't worked, and it's made fucking Fernando slower. And that's how I perceived it. It may be completely wrong, but that's how I perceived it back then. I was fuming, like really pissed off with it because I was really excited about Aston Martin that year. I think we all were. And they just absolutely fucked it for everyone and their team. And it was just so silly. Worst thing I've ever seen. Well, not the worst thing I've ever seen, but I put Alonso in 6th. In 7th place, I'm going to put... I'm going to put Hulkenberg. This is very close between another driver. I'm going to put Nico Hulkenberg in 7th place. Again, the cars he's had in the regulations changed since it's all been. And he's driven very well in the regulation change. He's been a dominant driver every time with his teammates. But this car he's been in has been dog shit. But we saw last week, he can get a P7. Was it P6, P7, P5, wherever it was in the end? No, P5. Yeah, it was incredible points for Nico Hulkenberg. That is, not Rosberg. And I just thought, he's still quick. He's still aggressive. Give him a good car. If he was in the Aston Martin this year with Alonso, the duo would be amazing. If he was in the V-Carb this year, he would do amazing. But I'm going to quickly write out who I've done and then go around again because I'm going to forget off the top of my head. So I've just done it, all my list. I've had to write it out. So, because I was going to forget. There's so many drivers that my little brain's got to retain, and it's not going to happen. So I've got first place, Max, as you know. Second, we got Leclerc. So I'm going to try and get up to the place we just got up to. Third, I got Piastri. Fourth, George Russell. Fifth, Sainz. And sixth, Alonso. And in seventh, I've got Nico Hulkenberg. And in eighth place, this is going to upset a lot of people, and I get why. Because he's had a great season. This is only my opinion on how I've seen drivers drive this year. Well, not this year, but the whole regulation change. And I've got a couple drivers in there in my list where it's hard to gauge because of how their season's going this year. And I feel bad for where I've put them, but I've had to remember like if they're where they are now and how many years they've been in the F1 car with this regulation, which if it's been the whole regulation, and they've done a pretty bad thing this year, I'm going to have to try and penalise him a little bit, even though Sainz I've put him fifth above his teammate, Alex. It's, you don't know where Alex is yet, I haven't read out Alex yet, but it's just because of what I saw with Ferrari, and it's regulation change, but the car's been, it's different. It's a slower car, Williams, and he's doing okay. He's not doing amazing, but he's still doing a good job. Like a job you would expect a new driver to be like. So in eighth place, I've got Lando Norris. I know you might be listening to this like, this guy knows no wheel, all of this shit. Listen, watched fucking loads of F1, pretty much from when Lando began in F1. Well, I have, but I can't recall every fucking race because I'm not a fucking nerd. And he's always come across, he's got really decent peaks. But the peaks, you don't know if they're going to crumble from underneath your feet. He might peak, do something really well in a race, and he's got better, let's face it, after the last couple of seasons. But then I still don't, it's like the boy who cries wolf, that old wives' tale, where a boy every night would go, wolf, 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 and all the villagers would come out and, come out and find this wolf and attack it and scare it away. And then it just kept looking like, so I must say cry wolf, I now say win, win, win for Lando. And then one day the boy actually sees a win or sees a wolf and no one believes it and he does it and the wolf comes or he gets a win. And it's kind of like that. It's just surprising and it's uncanny. And it's just he's driving. He's a very, very, very quick driver. And all of the top 10, in my opinion, top 11, really, are fantastic drivers. They're so hard to really gauge because if you put them all in equal machinery, I think where I've put them, it's kind of hard. If you put them all in equal machinery, I think a lot of these would switch around a little bit more than how I've got them. But I've got Lando in P8. It's just, I still do not believe the dream. And I feel bad because I want to believe in Lando. I do. My brother's a Lando fan. He's a McLaren fan. I'm a Ferrari fan, so it's quite funny. We've got that little, just like Man United, Man City rivalry going on, which is great. But I just don't buy it. I see it with Piastri every time he gets in the car. I see a world champion, a future one, maybe not ever win it. He may not win this one. Lando might win this year's world championship, but I don't believe Lando will. Even if he wins it, I still don't believe he's a world champion, even though he's done it. I just don't see that he's a world champion at this current moment in time, which I feel bad, but that's how I feel. Maybe you share that opinion. He's a fantastic driver, and I feel like Hülkenberg, like I put a person above him, is a better driver. I do. I think he's more aggressive. I think he's got the more of a fuck you winning mentality. And I would put, if you had to put £1 million in a race, it's so hard. This is what they said in the race podcast, which I thought was a really good question to have. Because if you had to have £1 million and you had to put it on one of these drivers to win, all in equal machinery, you'd put it on Max. But I would also argue Leclerc. Like, I would be really hesitant to give it straight to Max, even though Max has shown how great he is. But if it was between Piastri and Lando, I'd put Piastri. I wouldn't hesitate, like Piastri straight away. And if it was Lando and George, I'd go George straight away. And if it was Sainz and Lando, I'd go Sainz straight away. But when it gets closer, it goes Alonso, Lando. I'd definitely go Alonso. I'm going to go Hülkenberg, Lando. And this is where it gets close. Because I'm like, fuck. It's kind of like the Max and Leclerc thing. I think Hülkenberg and Lando are very similar. I do. But I think Hülkenberg's better. Mentally, racecraft-wise, knowledge, I think he is. I just think he's a better all-round product of a driver, Hülkenberg, compared to Lando. And you may not agree. But in P9, I've got Alex Albon. Again, I could have put Alex where Hülkenberg is, but it's hard to gauge with Alex. This year, he's had an incredible season with Williams. He's beating Carlos Sainz. And, people will be like, why have you put Carlos ahead of Alex? I don't know how good that Williams car was the last few years. It could have been really, really hard. And Alex has driven that car amazingly. He scored loads of points with Latifi and fucking Nick Sargent as his teammate. And, he did a really good job. But maybe that car wasn't that bad. Or maybe it was bad. I don't know, because we never got to see Alex paired with a decent driver. But now we have seen Sainz in that car, and he is slowly getting it, and he is slowly bettering himself. Alex has started off the season really strongly for Williams, and he's got some really good points, which I love seeing. But I don't know how to gauge him. I know I can gauge Sainz against Leclerc because I've seen it. And we've seen Sainz battle against all the other top 5-10 drivers, and we haven't really with Alex because of a car. And basing it off how those two drivers have interacted with other drivers over the last few seasons, that's why I've got them like where I've put them. So yeah, Alex in P9, I think he's a great driver. Fantastic. Again, top 11 are all great drivers. In number 10, I've gone for Sir Lewis Hamilton. I think this regulation just hasn't clicked with him at all. And people might say he's the best of all time. The GOAT. I argue that. I don't think he is. I think the car he's had and the regulations he got on with, he was 100%. That car he had was incredible. You got my argument's always going to be, and it will always be, Nico Rosberg. When Nico Rosberg was in the same car, same era, and he beat him. He beat him that year, fair and square. He beat him, and he retired. And he didn't need to prove anything. He's like, I've beaten the best of all time. And that's why Nico Rosberg, I always put ahead of Lewis because of what happened in that era of cars. that was Lewis's dominant season, era, because you call it, sorry. And Nico still got the dub and then fucked off, just vanished, did a peace sign, went to the hedge, and now he's on Sky broadcasting. And that's why I've always, since that championship, if Lewis beat Rosberg and Rosberg never got the World Championship, it never ever crossed my mind. I'd be like, yeah, Lewis is a GOAT. He is the GOAT. But because Nico did what he did, I will always question it. I just will. Just who I am. I'm going to look at it and be like, well, maybe if he had better teammates, I'm not saying Valtteri Bottas wasn't the best teammate, but maybe if they had harder teammates, would he have won as many as he did? I'm sure he would have, because he's an incredible driver, and that regulation change and late braking really helped him, like with Daniel Ricciardo. But, things change and, technology changes and all of that. So that's why I put Lewis there. And I just think over this regulation change, I don't think Lewis has adapted to it as well as the others underneath him, like with Alex, Lando, Hulkenberg, Alonso, Sainz, George, Piastri, Leclerc and Max. And maybe you agree, maybe you don't agree, but that's how I see it. Like George beat him both times in Mercedes, and now we're seeing it with Leclerc. It's got to be the regulations. It's got to be it. And I feel bad for Lewis because he's an incredible driver. He's great. I'm not saying he's bad. I've never said he's a bad driver, ever. I think he's a great driver. I don't think he's as good as what people paint him out to be. Even though he has won the most championships and everything, I get it. But I just put my little thinking cap on my head and I look of when and how he did it and the people he was up against. And then it starts to play tricks in my head and I start questioning myself. So that's why I've put Lewis in P10. In P11, you're going to argue a little bit here, potentially. I've put Isaac Hadjar. He's come in this season. I know it's his rookie season, and we've got other people who've been driving in this regulations for longer. It's the first rookie I've got in my top 11, and my top 11 is really the top. All of these guys could be so super close. And I think maybe up to 14, I would say you would put in that, but behind 14 to 15 to 20 first, because I've included Jack Doohan. I think there is definitely a strong division between the top drivers and the not so great drivers, but still good drivers. But I put Isaac Hadjar there. I think he's done an incredible job with the first season in F1. I know he's a rookie and I know he's got the V carb, which people are saying if Max was in that V carb, he'd be winning the World Championship. I understand that. But Isaac had a bit of a shit start in Australia, but that's a blimp in what he's been able to achieve in his F1 first season. Incredible stuff. Really good. His mentality is really strong. It's aggressive. And I'm worried, to be honest. I am generally quite worried about Isaac Hadjar because I'm worried that he's going to go to Red Bull too soon. And I don't think he should go to Red Bull too soon. I think Red Bull should hold off. Let him, get confident. We saw that with Yuki, and look what that's happened to him, bless him. And Yuki's not in my top 11 or fucking wherever. You're gonna hear him at some point. But I just think Isaac Hadjar's had an incredible season. He's outshone the other rookies, and I'm in a bit of a pickle between the other three rookies, and I'm going to get to that in a minute. So yeah, that's why I put Isaac Hadjar in P11, and in P12 I put Pierre Gasly. He is great when it all clicks. He's one of the best. He's the top 7 driver when it all clicks in that car. But with this regulation change, it's been quite hard to gauge how good Piastri really is. I know he's really good. We all know he's really quick, really good, really strong driver. But it's just like people ahead of him, I think, have had a better run with these regulation changes. And that's why I put him in P12, really. And I love Pierre Gasly. I always remember when he won at, was it Monza? He won it, and I was like, what the fuck? Incredible. I always remember that season and that race. Incredible. But yeah, great driver. I just don't think he's got on with his regulation change. And then in P13, so P13 and 14 is very close. I actually want to put P14 and 13. Fuck. Yeah, fuck it. I am going to do that. In P13, I'm going to switch the ones around. I put Oliver Bearman. I know he hasn't had an amazing start to the season, but there's loads of glimpses to him. I just feel like he's going to have a great... Okay, and I say great. In retrospect, he's going to have a great season with Haas. He's doing a better job than Esteban Ocon. I'm just going to look at the standings of where Esteban Ocon is compared to Oliver Behrman. So he is beating Oliver Behrman. He's got 20 points for him now. But I still just feel like Ollie's doing better qualifying races. He's more consistent. You would lean towards Oliver Behrman in some senses. That's my opinion, even though it's not factual. And I think Ollie Behrman has had a good season. And I always remember he was in that Ferrari car. And I know, Ferrari biased. But when he got P7 in his debut F1 race in a Ferrari, fuckload of pressure, just come out of F2. If F2 season was still going on, his neck wasn't as strong as it is now. I always remember his head bouncing off the fucking cushions in the car. I guess it's not called cushions, but I call them cushions. And he got P7. So I always hold that with Ollie Behrman in this regulation change. How good he was in that Ferrari car and how he dealt with it. And that's what swayed me between him and Kimi Antonelli, who I've put in P14. Kimi has had so much hype around him, and fair play. They're both Ollie Behrman, Isaac, and Kimi, all three of them. It's great to see. It really reminds me of like Leclerc when he came in. You have Alex Albon when he was at Red Bull, and you had George Russell with Williams, and Lando with McLaren, and to be fair, Pierre Gasly with Toro Rosso. But those five drivers, these three rookies I read out then. Maybe a bit of Gabriel Bortoleto, but still quite hard to tell because that car's pretty shit. But he's had a really good season, to be fair. So I feel quite bad where I put Gabriel. But I do think those 3-4 rookies are the era of the Leclerc, George Russell, all the era I just said. And I think that's good for F1 because we've got another light rotation of really good drivers coming our way. And we're going to see some good things from those four. That's how I see it in the future. I'm not an oracle. But yeah, I think Kimi, he's done okay. He's not had the most best of luck and he's done some silly things. But, he's a rookie. He's expected to do that. And he hasn't done like what I saw Oliver Behrman do straight away. And that's why I've put Ollie above him, just because of what happened last year. It's a regulation. Doing this over regulations and, of the fields of how I feel they both compare. But yeah, that's why I put Kimi in 14th. In 15th, I put Esteban Ocon. I know he's had not a bad season in Haas, but I think his time in F1's coming to an end. I do. And I don't want to sound like an asshole towards Esteban Ocon because I don't think he's a bad guy. I just think he's not portrayed that well via the media. And maybe you listening to this is like, no, you're missing out. Like he's actually portrayed really well. But maybe I've just misread things and misseen things and how things have been interpreted over the years. And he's not done amazing with his regulation change. Let's face it, this current regulation, not the one coming. He was getting beaten by his teammate Pierre Gasly in the Alpine, and Esteban Ocon had some really good moments, and I just think his head goes quite a lot. And that's kind of where I've put him underneath his teammate, Ollie. And I just think Ollie's got a higher ceiling than Esteban Ocon now. I think Esteban Ocon's ceiling is just hasn't grown. We haven't had an extension on the roof. It's just stayed at that level. And I think Ollie's ceiling has gone beyond it. And it's just a matter of time for him to break that mould, and he's going to be beating him a bit more. That's how I see it. And in 16th, I feel bad, but I put Yuki Tsunoda. So Yuki, it's a hard one because if I'm doing it off the whole regulation thing, he was great with VCARB, but then he's turned over to Red Bull, same manufacturer, like as a system with VCARB and Red Bull. That's why I haven't really changed signs as one, awfully, because it's a complete change. But he's had an absolute shock in that Red Bull car. And I know that Red Bull car is tailored towards Max Verstappen because he's the GOAT. And I get why they're doing it. But Yuki's confidence has dropped massively. I feel bad for him. I really do. It wasn't nice looking at his interview the other day. and he looked like he was crying. I was like, oh shit, it's not great to see Yuki upset. But I don't think if it carries on the way he is from that Red Bull, if that's going to be his, you're going to remember that quite a lot. And it's a bit of a shit one. Like, you know, when people coming towards the end of their life, a lot of people go, I don't want you to see me when I'm like this. Because you remember him like that. They don't want you to. I want to remember Yuki as the V-Carb king, not the fucking Red Bull dweeb. And he's becoming that Red Bull dweeb, like Liam Lawson was, like Perez was-ish. I think Perez should get more credit, even though I didn't give him as much credit as I did. But looking at what's happened with the last two drivers in the Red Bull seat, I now see why people loved him. I loved Perez the first season. He was the defense minister of Mexico. He did an incredible defending for Max for that championship that year. But again, that car was fucking quick. So he could afford to do what he was doing. But yeah, I put Yuki in 16th. And in 17th, I put Gabriel Bortoleto. Hard to really gauge it, really, because he's actually not had a bad season in that state car. He's actually driven it really well. It's just, I haven't seen much of him on the TV. I'm going to be completely honest with you. And he might have had moments of pure brilliance. I haven't seen it as much as I have with the other drivers, with other rookies. Maybe put my TV a bit more. And I feel bad for Gabriel, because I can guarantee you he's done some amazing stuff. But in 18th, I've put Jack Doohan, which I know he's not in F1 currently, but he did race a bit, and he did out-qualify his teammate, Pierre Gasly. And that will stick with me, because I think just if they give Jack a bit more time, maybe he would have been on par with Pierre Gasly, who we all know Pierre Gasly's a very good driver. I put him at number 12. And that's why I've put him above the other drivers who I've missed out at the moment. I feel bad for him. He's done a better job than Colapinto, and he just didn't get his moment. And I hope he does. I hope we see Jack Doohan back in that car. But fucking Flavio is a fucking bellend, and I don't reckon he will. And I just feel like he's just going to ruin it. He's a money-grabbing bastard who lies, and I feel bad for Jack. I do. But, you know, F1's brutal, and I think what they did to Jack Doohan was too brutal. In my mind, didn't make any logical sense, especially after that race. And you could see that Jack was really trying. He was aggressive with his engineers because he was pissed off. He wanted to prove to everyone that he wasn't this washed driver. And let's face it, Alpine shafted him in the qualifying. They put him behind fucking Gasly. They made him lose his fucking space. And I just thought, what the fuck am I watching? And I remember that. And maybe you don't, but that's how I remember it. And I just thought that was really bad from Alpine. They wanted to put out in the ethos that Jack Doohan was shit, and he wasn't. He was doing really well. So that's why I put Jack Doohan above the others. In 19th, these two are quite hard to match. I put Stroll. But I'm going to go 19, 20, and 21st. So I've got 19th Stroll, 20th Liam, and 21st Colapinto. All three of these, I would say, are neck and neck. Stroll really should be 21st because he's got the time on him. He's been in F1 for many years, and he's down in 19th. Really, out of what's the right word? I forgot the word. Out of principle, I should put him 21st because of how long he's been in that F1 team and how many years he's been driving for F1 and all the money his dad and money has been put into him, way more than the other drivers around him, and he's 19th on my list / 21st. It's a shit show. And this is what I'm going back to this whole Lance Stroll thing. Get him the fuck out of that car. It's a waste of money, a waste of time, and annoying to watch. I've got Liam in 20th and Colapinto in 21st / whatever. Liam, I don't think he's it for F1, even though he's got some really good moments where he's very aggressive. He definitely drives with his elbows out and his cock out and his pinky toe out. He drives like a fucking, he's as wide as he can make himself. A little bit dangerous because you might touch him and you don't want to do that because every time, like we saw with Alex Albon, Alex lost the wing. And so Liam, actually, you could put further up because he's driving aggressively. He doesn't follow the norm. But at the moment, that isn't really working for Liam. It might do eventually. Liam's only got four points, I believe, this season. And if, it all starts clicking and the car's a bit quicker, I can actually see Liam do quite well. I could see Liam getting a few more points and actually being near Isaac Hadjar and the confidence. He needs that confidence back. But at the moment, I've put him down at the bottom. And I think Colapinto, incredible as he was at Williams, it wasn't enough for me to go, he needs to be an F1 next year. Everyone was saying that last year, keep him in F1, he's fucking really good, he's really, really good. Yeah, he was really fucking good for the first two races, but it just seemed to fucking nosedive, and he's spawned back in the nosedive. So what's up with that, Alpine? And Flavio's apparently now said, Colapinto really does need to, step up a little bit here. And I'm like, mate, you were hinting at, and your team on social media, is that Colapinto was the next, fucking messiah. And he's 21st place on my readings, and he's last on the standings. He's drawing with Jack Doohan, but Jack Doohan really is above him because of the qualifying stuff he's done. I just think, what the fuck are Alpine doing? Alpine are the shittest team, by the way. If you support Alpine, fucking fair play to you. I don't know how you can support them. Because the team is like a really, really shit cheesecake. The cheesecake, the base, is falling apart. It's stale, and you have no idea where it's going to land on your plate. Is it going to land on the floor? Is it going to land in your mouth? You don't know if it's going to be a success or a fucking failure. And that's what Alpine is out of the food world. It's a fucking shitty cheesecake. Crumbly, fucking dry, just an awful team. You just don't, I don't know who's there and who isn't there, because it changes so quickly. It's so quick. And fucking Alpine, sort your shit out. It's annoying. But I get it, because they're trying to, better themselves, and they've got the Mercedes power unit coming in the future. And they've seen McLaren and how well they've been doing with Mercedes power unit. But now Mercedes power units are falling apart. So who knows how this fucking season is going to end. But yeah, that was my little podcast about my top 20 drivers, or 21 drivers. So yeah, hopefully this weekend's a banger. Happy Father's Day on Sunday as well, if you made it this far. Happy Father's Day. And hopefully Le Mans is a great finish, and hopefully Ferrari get a third win in a row, because that would be good. I cried last year. And have a lovely Father's Day, and enjoy the Canadian Grand Prix. Let's hope it's actually a bop, not a flop. So yeah, anyway, all the best, guys. Love you. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Red Line Racing